Hi everyone, my name's Anne-Marie. Welcome to this Spellbinders card making project. In this project we're going to be using some of our Zenspiration items from Spellbinders, plus another couple of Spellbinders items, and I'm just going to run through the items that we are going to use just to help you in case you've got them in your stash or just in case you're wondering what they are. So the first item that we're going to use is the swirl frame, and this is from the Zenspirations range, designed by Joanne Fink. And then we're going to be also using the three words create, celebrate and thanks. We're going to use the word create from this set, and these are just called words if you're wondering what it's titled. We're also going to be using the succulent and mum flower, and we're going to be using the leaves from our Bitty Blossoms dies. Everything I do use I will put on my blog for you to see, you know, the detailed description. There will be the links for the Spellbinders for you to go get more information, or if you wanted to purchase them you could do. Now I'm showing you the papers that I'm going to use. I don't normally, but for this one I'm going to do, because it's actually a Christmas set of papers. But just because it's Christmas, there's some papers in here that are absolutely beautiful and you could use them all year round. And I just want to sort of prove that just because you buy a Christmas pad, obviously you're not going to use like the Christmas trees or anything, but these are just a general pattern that we're going to use, and it's Easter, well it's just gone Easter, so it just shows that you can use some of the patterns even though they're in a Christmas pad all year round. I'm not going to go through the full pad because I'm not here to sort of show you the pad, but that's one of the papers we're going to use, and that's the second paper we're going to use. So they're quite not bright, but they're quite the beautiful papers. They're quite shiny. You see, you can see the reflection of my camera, and no, you can't see me behind the camera, but the camera's looking down, you see, so you can see that. So that's the papers that we're going to use. But I just wanted to sort of highlight those because even though they're Christmas papers, you know, we can use them all year round. So the card base we're going to use is 7x5. This is my favourite size. I've shown you many a time on our cardometer what size it is. So today, because it's quite intricate, this one, we're just going to crack on with crafting. So I think I've just mentioned everything I have that I use. I'll put on my blog. If you've got anything to say, please feel free to comment on my blog or Facebook if you want an answer. I can't reply to you on YouTube, but I do read all the comments, and you're all brilliant. Thank you very much. I appreciate them. So I've just used my bone folder to make sure I've got a nice sharp score along the edge of the card, for the simple reason that when you buy them factory made, they've got a scar, but they're not really sharp and they've not been folded. So they're ready to be folded and they're ready to have a nice sharp score to make them stand up nicely and look more professional. Right, so the inside of our card. Now this is quite a simple inside. Well, it's all, I'm going to say simple steps, is putting all these steps together. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of white cardstock. Now we're using a white base card. I've cut a piece of white cardstock. I've inked it around the edge with a soot ink. Now I've probably, to some people's standards, inked that quite badly, but that's how I didn't want it to look perfect. I wanted it to look quite grungy and quite inky. At the bottom, I've used the same technique as we actually used on the Spellbinders project from last week. I've stamped and then I've heat embossed white embossing powder over the top of the stamped image that I've used. Now the stamped image that I've used, the stamp is not Spellbinders. I'm quite naughty for mixing because, you know, really I should use all the Spellbinders. But sometimes what you've got in your stash will match perfectly with what you're going to do, and it might not be from that brand. And I just want to highlight the fact that it doesn't matter. just because I'm using a different stamp from a different make with Spellbinders, and then maybe using the paper that's different again from another range, it really doesn't matter, because your stash is your stash. If you want to use Spellbinders with Anna Griffin, or Anna Griffin with Dovecraft, or Sizzix, or you know, you can do that. I want to break some taboos here that you only have to use that one product. Well, no you don't. You can use whatever you've got. So I've used a stamp I've got in my stash. It's quite an old stamp, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know the make of it. And I randomly stamped just at the bottom. I stamped it in white, and then I heat embossed the white. And then over the top I've added ink in a touch of gold, and then the soot as well at the bottom, but round the rest of the edges it's all soot. So I've got flat tape on the back of this, and I'm simply going to add this to the inside. So it's just something a little bit different, and it's going to work very well with the outside of our card. Now I've also die cut the word create from our 3-word dies from Spellbinders, and this is where I've used the gold paper. You can see the pattern on it. Now on the back of this I'm going to use liquid glue just to stick down our word. I'm going to add the liquid glue just in a few areas on the back. I'm not going to worry too much about sticking it all down, because I think you can get a little bit hung up about making sure that it's flat. I'm going to add the word just kind of to one side and press it down so that it sticks nicely. There we go. And open it straight-ish. So that's the inside of our card finished. We've got lots of room for our messages. And I've got to just point out, I've just realised that last week's Spellbinders inside, I used a word at the same side. I must have a thing about working to the left hand side with the words, because it's very, in fact, it's very similar in position to the one we did. There we go, like that, using the same dies for the words. Not to worry, it looks completely different, but I was just thinking I've picked up on that. We'll have to try a different area next time. So that's our inside. Now just while I fold the card, because I've got wet glue on that and I can see it's just popped out there, just while I work on the front, I'm going to pop a piece of wax paper between the word and the the flap, because then if I give it to somebody, it hasn't got glue smudged on the inside. Right, for the outside of our card, the first thing we're going to do is add a matte layer. Now this is kind of like a frame that I've cut. I've cut it out in black cardstock and I've got it on 3D foam. I've used my set of rectangles from Spellbinders, and this was set A for this particular one, and I'm just going to see if I can get it on kind of straight. I think we might be at a bit of an angle in one corner, but not to worry. I'm not going to get too stressed about it. See if I can just make it a bit better. There we go. Oh, it's not too bad. You see, looking over, but I'm not. I'm kind of looking from behind. So sometimes it's a bit difficult to judge this area. So that's our first layer, black card. I've used the rectangle dies from Spellbinders. I've cut it to size with the larger die, and then I've just taken away the centre. Now the centre is going to be smaller than our next layer, so we're only actually seeing the edge of the black. Our next layer is using Spellbinders Rectangles B set, and I've cut it in such a way that it is a frame. So I've used the largest of the B set, and then I've cut out the centre. I think it was about the third one smallest from that set. And then I've stamped using the same stamp that I used for the inside, and then I've heat embossed using gold. I've randomly stamped it just to give it a kind of, I don't say grungy, but just in a mixed media grungy effect. I haven't been careful where I've stamped it. I've just stamped away, making sure that I've got something on all four corners. So it's just something a little bit different. I've got it on 3D foam, and I'm simply going to position it over the previous layer, which means I'm going to get the edge of the black poking out around it, like so. And then I'm going to just add our word. I'm going to add our word create that I've die cut in black cardstock. Again, I'm just going to use a few blobs of liquid glue just in a couple of areas on the back of it, and just add it on like so, and then I can just pop that through the centre just before we go any further. There we go. So there's our word. Press it down just so it takes hold, and maybe straighten it up a little bit. There we go. So that's our word through the centre. This card would be perfect to send to somebody that is creative, or to send somebody an inspirational card. Next, we're using the swirl frame. Now the swirl frame is going to go over the actual last layer, where we've built up a kind of frame. So I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid glue, again in various places on the back of the frame. Now there's lots of areas on the back of the frame that's perfect for adding liquid glue. You're not going to be stuck looking for larger sections of paper, so don't worry about that. And then I can just place it over our previous layer. It's going to hang over the edge a little bit, but that's what we want. There we go. Just press it down a little and wait for it to take hold. And then where I've used the Bitty Blossom dies, I've used the dies to make flower and to make the leaves for some flowers. And this is where I've used the Christmas paper, and I've used the spotty one for the leaves, because I just thought it just looked so pretty and it was very eye-catching. And then I've made some flowers out of the gold, it was like a check paper, and white, using the succulent dies, using this one if I can reach it, the succulent and mum die. And I've simply taken the two smallest dies, cut them out, one in white and one in the gold check, and then I've added in the centre, I had some tiny little flower embellishments, and I've just added those in the centre of the two, so that I can add these flowers with the leaves that I've cut out, and just add them in a couple of places just to highlight our frame. And I'm balancing it out to add them at two sides. And then I've got some single leaves that I can add that I've cut out, and add those to the flowers. Again, I'm just using liquid glue for this. Just no particular extra reason, just because it's the glue I've got open at the side of me, and it works just as well as silicone. So our last leaf there, and that is our card finished. And such a pretty card with some good techniques for the background, for the stamping, and making our swirl frame and our words stand out and be inspirational. And then the inside, we can take our wax paper away now, and that just works as well with the front. Ideal to send to somebody that is creative, or maybe something to make for the wall. Instead of creating the inside as well, you could create the outside and have it just as something on your desk to remind you. You could use inspirational words, you could use different words in the centre. You could use the word thanks and send it as a thank you card. Just something a little bit different, and it all ties together and it just looks great. And see, I'm going to use this card, so I'm just saving that little bit. I don't want the glue to go on the back and mess it up, because I think you'll see this on my wall display if you were to ever see my wall. So I think that's a really cute card that uses a lot of Spellbinders products to make something that really does stand out. So I do hope you've enjoyed watching. Please share any of my projects from my blog. If you've got anything to say, please feel free. And I'd just like to say thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time.